So I'm Beth from Care 2, and we've made a video for activists, and it's an FAQ video where I interview Sussex Police. We wanted to make the video to give confidence and information to people who haven't taken any direct action but might be considering it and might be a bit scared of the rules. So it's for information really, and it's an FAQ answering questions such as what to do if you're trapped in a kettle and need a wee. I'm Beth and I work as a campaigner for Care 2. I've organised some different demonstrations, and my first demonstration was outside Parliament. I've also been monitored by the police and had them telephone me about things that I've talked about on Facebook, such as placard making, and had them visit my workplace when I've talked about alternative pride events. I've also been kettled a couple of different times, once in anti-racism demonstrations and again at climate camp in London. There I was kettled for about 5 hours, which resulted in me having to wee on the floor. That was quite a frightening experience, so I wanted to talk to the police about what kettling is and to answer questions about what you can and can't do. Do people need to inform the police or the council if they're organising a static demo or a march?
In terms of legislation, Section 11 of the Public Order Act 1986 provides that the organiser of a public procession must notify the local police not less than 6 days before a procession takes place, and must include the date, time and proposed route. The land on which you wish to use is usually owned by the local authority, and so again it's correct that you inform them of your intentions and get advice from their events team. Most people know that you cannot trespass, and so unless you have permission from a private landowner, protests should be conducted in a public place. For a static assembly or protest, I would again encourage anyone to inform their local police via the police liaison team. However, there is no specific legislation that requires an organiser to do so.
So if you're just doing a demo and you're not planning to go anywhere and it's just at one location, you don't have to tell the police. Is it legal for a march to walk down the road, temporarily stopping traffic?
Well, firstly, the highway belongs to the local authority, and so the police cannot give permission to walk in the road. There is an offence of willful obstruction of a highway, and as such anyone an officer suspects is doing so could commit the offence. I would again encourage organisers to talk to the local PLT officers, because generally it is accepted that protesters also have a right to use a highway, and that could include to process along it, but provided it's done in a way that's safe, reasonable and considers other road users.
Is it legal for anyone to hand out leaflets in a public place, and what about in a shop?
It's perfectly legal to hand out leaflets in a public place, but clearly the content must be lawful. For example, it must not contain threatening or abusive material or stir up racial hatred. There is nothing specific to stop you from doing so in the shop. However, the shop are entitled to ask you to leave, and if they did so, you must leave, otherwise you may then be committing an offence.
If a police officer asks my name, do I have to tell them?
Well, whenever a police officer asks you for your details as part of a legal requirement, they must have grounds to do so, and it should explain those grounds to you. If the officer has grounds and therefore legal powers, then by not providing your details you may commit an offence and then be liable to arrest.
If a police officer asks for your name or any other details, you're not legally obliged to tell them unless there's certain grounds. So if you are asked, then it's worth asking them, am I legally obliged to do so? And if so, under what grounds? Can you explain what kettling is and when and why it's used?
Well, firstly, the police do not use the term kettling, we use containment. Containment is a tactical option available in public order situations where we look to prevent crimes, disorder or breaches of the peace. This is done by stopping a group who, for example, have people within it that we believe are intending to cause damage, or by simply stopping one group from getting to another to prevent acts of violence. Lines of officers are used to contain a group in the same spot or to move them in a way determined as reasonable and safe by the commander.
The police may kettle a peaceful protest before anything bad's happened, just if they decide that they think something bad might happen. If I end up having to wee on the floor because I've been contained for 5 hours, can I get arrested for that?
With regard to specifically urinating on the floor, I can't give an overall answer to this because it would depend on specific circumstances. If you had made all reasonable effort to resolve the situation but have failed, well, I would say you had been reasonable in your behaviour. However, if you were urinating to simply cause offence, then that would not be tolerated, as it wouldn't in any other situation.
So if you've asked to go to the toilet and they won't let you, sounds to me like you can wee on the floor. Am I allowed to wear a mask or a scarf covering my face on a demonstration?
Well, the police can authorise the use of a Section 60AA of the Public Order Act. This means an officer has a power to require anyone to remove any face covering if they reasonably believe the person is using it to wholly or partly conceal their identity. The officer can seize the item under the same power, and the person could commit an offence if they refuse to remove or hand over the item.
Am I allowed to film and photograph the police?
Anyone can film or photograph in a public place, but if you're doing so in a protest situation, you should be careful not to obstruct a police officer doing their duty or get so close that you risk physical contact that may constitute an assault.
Do I have to get permission from anyone to use a megaphone or a loudspeaker on a march?
No, you don't need to get permission. However, once using them, there are certain bylaws that could affect you.
In most places, you don't need any permission to use a megaphone or a loudspeaker on a demo. You can just go ahead. However, in certain places, if you do go ahead and someone asks you to stop using it, then the law says that you have to stop using it. If the police ask me questions about a demo that I'm organising, do I have to answer them?
As with any aspect of police asking you questions, of course you do not have to answer.
If I organise a demo, will I get put on the list of domestic extremists or any other list that you monitor?
This is a difficult question and I cannot answer for every situation. However, if I was contacted by someone wishing to talk to me about a peaceful event, then I would not record their name within police systems. If, however, the person is organising an event that has previously ended up with disorder, violence or criminal offences, then clearly records are likely to be kept.
Essentially, if you organise or even participate in political demonstrations, it's possible that you may be put on a list of domestic extremists and monitored. How can I find out if I'm already on a list of people that you're monitoring?
Any person is entitled to submit freedom of information requests to the police, government or other local bodies, public bodies, and as such the relevant holder of any information can make the appropriate response.
Remember, while the police liaison team say that they don't monitor activists, it's quite possible that they might gather information from you and pass that on to other intelligence officers within the police force, and they might monitor you. To find out whether the police are monitoring you, you can do a freedom of information request, and I would recommend contacting the organisation Netpol, who can give you advice about finding out how you're being monitored by the police.
Peaceful protest is a fundamental part of a democratic society, and every year there are marches, protests and assemblies all around the country. By talking to us, we can work with you to make sure we have a proportionate level of policing to facilitate that right to protest. If you are organising a protest, demonstration or march, please talk to the police liaison team in your area.
So I'd like to conclude by saying that if you're organising a static demo, you do not need to inform the police. You don't need to give the police your personal details when they ask, unless they have grounds, in which case they must tell you what those grounds are. Any engagement with the police and organising publicly online can result in documented intelligence gathering, so be aware of this and consider whether you want to assist them in their work. I really hope that this video has been useful and informative, and that you feel like you can get out there and when you're wanting to deliver your petition to your target, that you can organise a rally and a demo and get everyone together out in public to raise awareness of the issues that you care about. So remember that you can really make a difference, and make that effort to make the world a better place.